These are violent criminals, so they're not going to go down easy.
ABC Tuesdays.
Let's get this done.
The Rookie is back.
We have 2 new rookies starting today.
Howdy.
Being a cop is stressful 24/7. Every year on the job is different.
And Training Day
We have a serial killer at large.
never ends.
We need an ambulance!
The Rookie. All new Tuesdays on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Today on CityCast Philly, School District of Philadelphia Superintendent Tony B. Watlington launched his Thrive at 5 campaign this week. It's an effort to get children enrolled into kindergarten for the 2025-2026 school year, which means kids who will be 5 on or before September 1st have until May 31st to register. But that's not the only goal for the superintendent. I chatted with him about other goals for the district and some challenges that are top of mind for him. It's Thursday, January 23rd. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Superintendent, you've been here for 2.5 years. What's been the biggest challenges you faced running a district of nearly 200,000 students?
It's good to be with you. Thank you for having me today. It's been an absolute joy to serve as superintendent of the School District of Philadelphia, the nation's 8th largest school district out of some 14,000 public school districts. If you ask me what the biggest challenge has been, I would say the declining teacher pipeline, which is more significant in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania than nationally. There's been a 71% decline in the number of individuals choosing to attend a public or a private institution in Pennsylvania to become a teacher, compared to 50% reduction nationally. That's number one. Second big challenge has been our aging facilities, with the average age of our school buildings being 73 years old, and a number of them are more than 110 to 120 years old or more. And we just don't have the resources to operate all of these buildings in 21st century learning conditions. And we've got an imbalance in the number of children who are in these schools relative to the number of seats available, if you will, in the schools. But I'm so pleased that we're in phase 8 of our facilities planning process, and we intend to bring to a recommendation to the Board of Education this fall, such that by the close of 2025, we can see our way to the future and have a plan to address our facilities.
I want to go back to the teachers. How short of teachers are we?
We filled over 95% of our teaching vacancies at the beginning of the school year. And we had to use some retired teachers, substitute teachers in some places. But the real issue is not just how many vacancies do we have, how many of the vacancies do we fill. The key question is, are we able to, in Pennsylvania, recruit and onboard teachers who are certified to teach? To become a certified teacher, you've got to complete certain credentials, you've got to pass some assessments. And it's no different than if you want to be a lawyer, you've got to pass the bar exam. If you want to be a doctor, you've got to get a credential. If you want to be an electrician, you've got to be certified. Unfortunately, in the United States, we just don't respect the teaching profession the way we did when I was growing up, perhaps when you were growing up. And so we kind of have this notion out there that just anybody can teach. And so we've got to build a stronger pipeline to make teaching attractive to lots more people. And for this superintendent, it's important, the gold standard is to get certified teachers. Now, there are emergency licensed teachers who do a very fantastic job. Many of them come through Teach for America. Many of them come through other programs and initiatives in our city. I've seen a number of very fine teachers who come through the Center for Black Educator Development with Sharif El-Mekki's organization. But the gold standard is still to have certificated teachers, and we don't need to give up on that. Long story short, we made sure there was a competent, caring adult in all of our classrooms when our kids returned to school last fall.
I went to a Philly public school. I went to Pollock Elementary up in the Northeast, and I had some wonderful teachers there. We were such a great community. The teachers knew my family, family knew the teachers. It was just such a great experience. Unfortunately, though, this month we lost a student, Noah Scurry, a 17-year-old at Samuel Fells High School. He was shot and killed leaving his house on his way to school, and it all happened in front of his mom. He was a student that had the top SAT score in his class, and he was a star athlete. When a tragedy like this happens in our community, how does the district respond? What do you do?
First of all, let me say our hearts and prayers just go out to the family and to the entire Fells community. When there's a tragedy like that in our city, it harms all of us. And we're certainly all affected by it. And so we have great condolences to this young man's family. When tragedies occur, we deploy a crisis team promptly, trained counselors and other support staff who are there to provide support to both students, family members, and staff. That's really important because what we've learned is, there's a lot of attention immediately. And then in the coming days, when people go away, we found that there's a need for some continued support. And sometimes people need to have folks who are just there to hold their hand, to care, and just to be present. And certainly, I also want to note that some of the investments that we're making in the school district to address safety includes replacing a number of analog cameras with up-to-date digital cameras throughout the district. We're investing more in Safe Paths programs to ensure that kids get home safely. Mm-hmm. We're paying to provide extra safety zones where we pay more police officers to provide more patrols in areas that have an uptick in violence. We're also investing in social and emotional learning support resources, investing in student mental health so that whenever young people build relationships with each other and with their adults in their school communities. When young people see something, they're more likely to say something.
Along with those initiatives that you just mentioned, families and students and teachers talk about underfunding, right? They talk about needing and wanting, libraries in their schools, more guidance counselors, more art teachers, more nurses, and definitely extracurricular sports. Are we underfunded by the state legislature? And is there not enough coming from property taxes? What's the story behind this? And is it your job to fix it?
It's all of our jobs, absolutely. And I'm accountable to make sure that we're good stewards of those resources. Let me just say, most of the funding for the school district of Philadelphia and school districts across this Commonwealth, and in many states, the biggest share of school district operating budgets comes from the state legislatures. What's different about Pennsylvania relative to some other states in the union is that other states take the responsibility to pay a greater share of the local school districts' operating budgets than Pennsylvania does historically, or did historically. And as you know, last year, the Commonwealth Court ruled that the way this Commonwealth funds school districts is unconstitutional. I can tell you that this school year, which is the school year 2024-2025, thanks to the leadership of Governor Josh Shapiro and leaders in the legislature, including a very strong Philadelphia delegation in the legislature, this school district received an additional $239.1 million this year. And so when we have folks like Senator Vincent Hughes and Speaker Joanna McClinton and the House Appropriations Chairman Jordan Harris and the delegation leader, Representative Morgan Cephas, and others fighting for the school district of Philadelphia, we've got to say thank you. It's making a difference to the tune of $239.1 million this year. It's my job to make sure that we're good stewards of those extra dollars. Secondly, I want to highlight the leadership of our mayor, Sherelle Parker, our 100th mayor in Philadelphia, because of her leadership and the stroke of a pen, she changed the school district's share of the property tax by 1 percentage point. And as a result of Mayor Parker's leadership and that of the city council, this school district will receive an additional $240 to $250 million over the next 5 years in increased funding. So it looks like decades of historic underfunding the tide is beginning to turn. It's going to take some time to right the ship.
Or like catch up.
To catch up. It's like turning a super tanker around in the middle of the Delaware River. It's going to take some time. But in the meantime, we're pushing hard to make sure that we're being good stewards of every single penny that the state and the city are providing to the school district. In fact, I can tell you that our credit outlook has been upgraded twice in the past 2.5 years. Investment grade credit has been upgraded twice in the past 2.5 years. Test scores in grades 3 through 8 are going up. Our 4-year cohort graduation rate is going up, and the number of students who are dropping out of school is going down. And so we're working hard to be good stewards and put those dollars to good use.
Part of your goal for the district was to create the fastest improving large urban school district in the country. You're 2 years into the strategic plan to make that happen. Has it happened?
We are well on our way to be among the fastest improving large urban school districts in the country. On January the 30th, we are going to get a report on the last piece of data that will help us to determine how we stack up against all the other big city school districts. As you know, Philadelphia is the nation's 6th largest city and houses the 8th largest school district out of 14,000 school districts. When we compare ourselves to other cities in terms of the 4-year graduation rate, we're getting better. When we compare ourselves to other big city school districts in terms of the dropout rate, number of kids dropping out of school, we're getting significantly better. And when we look at that one test, and not that tests measure everything, but when we look at that one test that a subgroup of 4th graders and 8th graders take across all 50 states and in 28 large urban, what they call NAEP tutored school districts, we'll get that data at the end of this month, and it will tell us how we're doing. Now, on the last rounds of tests, we made the best improvement among the big city school districts in 3rd through 8th grade math. And in the last test, we were the 2nd best improved district, following only the Chicago public schools, but we're the only big city school district to be in 1st or 2nd place ranking in terms of improvements in 3rd through 8th grade reading and math. So it's a very promising sign. We're making significant progress. Now, people always say, is it good enough? The answer is absolutely not. Until all of our kids graduate, until the overwhelming majority of our kids are successful on their reading and math exams, we can't take our foot off the gas. But we do believe evidence is circulating that suggests that we're among the fastest improving large urban school districts in terms of academic performance and outcomes. I will also tell you that for the first time in a decade, this year, our student enrollment in the district-operated schools grew by 1,841 students. Most of those students are coming to traditional high schools and criteria-based high schools. I also want to note that the district opens its first special education evaluation center to help us enhance the academic experiences for our diverse students. And so we're trying to figure out how to do a better job of serving all of our students, because if we make sure to serve all our student populations, the entire district will continue to improve.
More with the superintendent after the break.
Do you plan your vacations based on whether you can speak the local language? With Babbel, language no longer has to be the barrier. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I went to Mexico City a couple of years ago with my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, so I just let her do all the talking, like all of it. I adored the city, and now I'm going to go back in a couple of months, but with my college roommates, who are a bunch of middle-aged men, none of us Spanish speakers. When I was younger, I might not have been bold enough to do that, but now I'm not anxious because Babbel has me covered. Thanks to Babbel, I know how to order a taxi, how to give directions, how to order in a restaurant, all the small and useful bits of language that make international travel easier. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in a new language, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations, especially the sort you need while traveling. Food, how to get places. Babbel's tips and tools are inspired by the real-life stuff you actually need when communicating. With a focus on conversation, you'll be ready to talk wherever you go. So I hope I'll see you in Mexico in a couple of months. Or, as we say, espero verte en Mexico en un par de meses. So let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Now, despite progress, there are families who move out of the city, right? And they change their educational opportunities for their children because they talk about safety. They talk about academic rigor. They talk about not having those, extras, like those extracurricular activities. How do you have that conversation with your staff about, how to keep families in Philly?
I think that we try to use data and talk in facts and not just our gut feelings.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about the fact that violent crime is down in the school district, in the city, I commend our mayor and police commissioner, Kevin Bethel, and the very fine men and women in uniform and persons in uniform. I also want to note that we're doing our part to really connect with our parents in a different way. This year, when the school year launched, we launched learning networks across the city, 15 learning networks. And we placed the assistant superintendent for each group of schools out in the neighborhoods. If indeed Philadelphia is a city of neighborhoods, we think of that as a strength, not anything negative. It's a strength. So how do we get our administrators, assistant superintendents out there? And if you go to our website, you'll see a geographic color-coded map. Tony Watlington or Trinae Nuri has a concern about something. You don't have to come all the way to the center city. You can go straight to that learning network office and see that assistant superintendent. If you see something good happening, you want to come report some commendation, you can go straight to that office. The resources are being placed closer to families. Also, to hear from our families, we launched a new communication tool this year called Let's Talk. And you probably see our district spokesperson, Monique Braxton, a lot out in the media. One of the things we're doing is telling our story and going straight to parents. This new two-way communication system called Let's Talk, you can get it off our website. You can voice a concern or a question, and somebody will answer that email or that correspondence or that phone call. We've had over 30,000 inquiries, and it's taken us just over 3 days is our response time. Now, we want to get it down to 24 to 48 hours, but we've got an average feedback score on a scale of 0 to 10. I think it's about a 7.8 last time I looked at it. And so we're giving our parents and families a chance to give us feedback about how well we communicate, how well we keep them informed, and we're using that feedback to get better. I want to tell our families, we want you to seriously give the School District of Philadelphia consideration. We care about your children. We're getting better, and we want to educate them and prepare them for any future they might imagine. That's our commitment.
What's been some of that feedback? What have you heard?
Well, we're hearing that people like that people return their phone calls and emails.
Now, that's always a good thing.
We're hearing that when we look at the data about those 15 learning networks, it was a little bit surprising to some people, but when our enrollment grew by 1,841 students this year, we looked at the data And we found that the numbers increased. Our enrollment increased in 10 out of 15 learning networks. So this wasn't just enrollment going up in the northeast part of Philadelphia, where the population is growing faster than some other parts of the city. Growth in 10 out of 15 learning networks suggests to me that our parents and families are telling us that they're having greater confidence in the school district, and they're considering us as one of their first choices. We also hear from parents that they want us to continue to keep safety and the well-being of their children front and center. And we're also hearing from parents and families that they're looking forward to the relaunch of Parent and Family University a little bit later this year, when we will be providing some extra supports to our families. If we want to help our kids, we've got to help our families and parents as well.
What's the status of the mayor's plan for extended day, extended year-round school? You all are still piloting this initiative, but how has it been going so far?
We launched 20 extended day, extended year pilots across the city of Philadelphia, 20 in the district-operated schools, and there are also 5 pilots in our charter schools across the city. And the district-operated schools, I can tell you that those 20 schools, hard-working, busy parents who are doing the best they can with resources they have access for their children to have before school care and enrichment opportunities beginning at 7:30 a.m. And I have access to those same after-school enrichment activities until late in the evenings, until 6 o'clock p.m. So from 7:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m., our young people have a safe place to be. They're engaging in extracurricular activities to include sports, chess, intramural competitions, lots of other really exciting opportunities, and quite frankly, getting the chance to do some things that they may not otherwise be able to do. When I hear kids and families tell me they've never been to the shore or they've never learned to play chess, I still don't know how to play chess. I never learned that as a young person. I think it gives our young people a leg up. Also, I can tell you in these extended day, extended year pilots that when schools close for winter break, our young people in these pilot schools continue to get services. When we close for spring break, they'll continue to get services. When kids go home for the summer, they'll continue to get services as well. We're still talking about how we'll grow and expand those, but we've had thousands of children served so far, and we're going to continue to review the feedback data. And I look forward to coming back on your show, perhaps at the end of the year, and give you some data about the total number of students served, some of the programs that our students and their parents like the most, and also feedback they gave us about how we can get even better next school year.
I want to talk to you about school closures, right? And, you're beginning that process to examine which schools have to be closed permanently. This can be very jarring for families. Why is that necessary? Families and schools have gone through this process before. What's going to be different this time?
First, let me say the reason we're engaged in phase 8 of a facilities planning process, and the reason we will bring a plan to the Board of Education for its consideration by the end of 2025 is because we have 2 problems in the city of Philadelphia. One, our schools are old and we don't have the resources to bring them all up to 21st century standards. The average age of our school buildings is 73 years. A number are more than 100, 120 years old. Problem number 2 in Philadelphia, there are more seats available in the district-operated schools, approximately 180,000 seats, just over 117,000 children in the district-operated schools. So there's an imbalance there that we've got to address. Why do we need to address it? Well, when we address it, we can use our existing resources more efficiently. Parents can get more access to art and music for their children in the elementary grades. We will be able to extend algebra to all of our middle grade students, something we don't currently do because we don't have enough resources. Our resources are stretched too thin when we have schools that are as small as 150 kids in a school. So we can also have more access to rigorous high school classes, advanced placement courses, international baccalaureate courses, and other career and technical education programs, better, deeper, more investments in those programs at the high schools. So that's why we have to address this issue. Now, what will be different? Here's what will be different. In 2012, the school district of Philadelphia had to move fairly quickly to close a number of schools because the district was facing an immediate $1.35 billion deficit. And that is billion with a B, not an M. And so the district had to take immediate action. What we've learned, having studied those school closures here as well as Chicago had the biggest school closure of any big cities in the country. What we learned is that the academic performance for the children whose schools were closed went down. What we learned was the attendance rate for the children whose schools were closed went down. The kids got worse. The kids were harmed. Nobody's fault in the district because the district didn't cause the $1.35 billion deficit. So what we've learned is we've got to do this in partnership with families. We've got to take the time to plan. Why can we plan a little bit more now? We're not facing an immediate $1.35 billion deficit. Because of the additional dollars we got this year from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and from our mayor, our budget is solvent. Now, what will happen next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road? We're going to have to stay committed to getting those consistent resources from the state. And so that's why we've got to make our voices heard in Harrisburg, and our mayor and school board will be advocating for the resources we need and appropriately so. But when we make these tough decisions, when we take recommendations to the board, this won't be just about saving money. It won't just be about balancing the budget. What we're going to be focusing on is how do we give all school communities an equal opportunity to have art, music, and PE? How do we give all communities in Philadelphia, regardless of your zip code, the opportunity to have algebra in the middle schools, algebra teachers, foreign language? How do we make sure that all communities have access to rigorous high school and career and technical education programming, the best CPE programming, the best building trades programming? And it's not just about saving money, but how do we redirect some of the savings to the least of these? Kids who are performing at the bottom, we must elevate their performance. So for me, it's not just about recommending how we save money. It's about how we invest more resources into our kids who need these resources the most and who are poor and underprivileged by no fault of their own. And the only way we help them to get out of poverty is to give them quality seats that our mayor talks about, that we push hard on the goals and guardrails that our Board of Education often talks about, and that we prepare them to graduate and to participate in the economy.
Superintendent, what excites you about your job? You know, when you think about education in Philadelphia and about your staff and our families and our students.
I get excited when I see the attendance rate for teachers go up. I get excited when I see the attendance rate for students go up. I get excited when I see the 4-year graduation rate go up by 7 percentage points over the past 2.5 years. And I get really excited when I see the data about we have 1,400 less students dropping out of school. That is important to me because in Philadelphia, we're not getting better. Our numbers aren't getting better by us kicking some kids out. We're not just pushing the kids who are sometimes hard to love out. We're not pushing the kids out who don't score well on tests. We're saying, oh, no. These are all of our children. They are all ours. We're going to give them the best education we can. But when I see young people step up and I see their faces light up, when I go to the Accelerate Philly Awards and I see our principals and teachers smile and high five each other and say, hey, we're getting better, we can do this. And it's because of all of us working together, funding from the state and our mayor, great leadership from the school board. We've got the unions at the table working with us. We don't always agree on everything, but one thing is clear. All 5 of the unions here want this school district to get better, and they push hard. And when I think about teachers who are going the extra mile, sometimes having to spend money out of their own pocket, I just get really excited. Success begets more success. So I'm excited to be in Philadelphia for such a time as this.
Now, I've got to ask you, do you watch Abbott Elementary?
I absolutely do.
What are your opinions on it?
I love the show. And when I go around the country for different events and work-related opportunities, people ask me the same thing. I think it's a very fine representation of the spirit of Philadelphia. I think when someone had the wisdom to profile a former climate manager and leader and administrator in this school district, Joyce Abbott, I think it shines a positive spotlight on the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And it's got an all-star cast. And I'm excited that one of those folks, I understand, is getting a walk on the Hollywood Walk of Fame very soon.
Yep, you're right. Shirley Ralph, who plays teacher Barbara Howard. Superintendent Tony B. Watlington Sr., thank you so much for joining me on CityCast Philly today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be with you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this episode with the superintendent of Philly schools, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the Friday News Roundup. Bye.